over the week, the Victorian government has decided to slash stamp duty to help Victoria win the new homes race, apparently. I feel like this is window dressing at its finest, and quite possibly this could end up in land prices going higher. Let's talk about what's actually happened. So the Victorian government is basically trying to fast track development because of the housing crisis. We don't have enough houses for people to live in, yet we're bringing in a lot of people into this country. So there's a problem now. The problem has been around for a little while, but the problem's going to extend into the future as we continue to immigrate people into the country, and a lot of those people will end up in Sydney or Melbourne. In this instance, they've said, we're going to slash stamp duty for off-the-plan properties for the next 12 months. The first thing I thought of was not really something to do with the property market. It was to do with, okay, what the Victorian government is on the verge of a debt crisis. There's crises everywhere, and the Victorian government is on the verge of a debt crisis. It's hard to argue they've been pretty irresponsible with money. When they came in originally, I don't know how long ago that was, 10 years, they scrapped the east-west tunnel and then they replaced it with a whole bunch of other infrastructure, but we lost a lot of money down the drain from that. Same with it was the Commonwealth Games, we scrapped that. Just a lot of irresponsible money spending. And that's the first thing I thought of. I thought, well, hang on, stamp duty is one of the largest sources of income for state government. Why are they deciding to take less of it? I get that they're wanting to supply more property. I'm just not sure how this is going to work. So just to sum it up before we get into things, the Allen government is slashing stamp duty on Victoria's off-the-plan apartments, units and townhouses to cut upfront costs, speed up building and make it more affordable for all home buyers to purchase off the plan. What's important with that is that's all home buyers, so that's including investors, it's including foreign buyers as well. I get that when you're making these calls, you kind of have to make them nice and easy, and sometimes you run the risk of having too many rules and too much red tape. But it seems to me like potentially this isn't going to get to the people who need it. The other thing worth commenting on, which has been front and center since we've had all this inflation, is that developers are not building these types of buildings because they're not profitable. The cost of stuff's gone up. The thing that's burning in the minds of these sorts of people are, do we commit to these projects, which some of them take years and years and years to get through? I get they want to fast track it, but they still take years to build. Do we want to commit to this when there could be another inflationary burst and then we lose money again? And this is the quandary that these people are going to be put in. If you think about it, if I was a developer, I'm not a developer, but if I was a developer, I would say, well, okay, I'm going to build those potential costs into my margin, because otherwise I go bankrupt like everyone else has over the last 3 or 4 years. What that actually does is it's going to push prices up. And when it's high-rise prices or anywhere, this is off the plans mainly going to be high-rise. What it does is it's going to push up the cost for everything for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. And what that's going to mean is it's actually going to convert into land price, because at the end of the day, yeah, they got to charge more, but the actual land, the land value goes up per square meter. So I get that's a controversial task and a lot of people would disagree, but there is definitely a scope for that to happen, for it to push land value up, because now if developers can charge more and build a healthy profit margin into their product, they're going to go find the land and they're going to bid that land up. So the land's going to increase, and how property values go up is, they go up in the city first, as the CBD, and then the people who can no longer afford to buy the land in the CBDs or whatever the new planning districts are, they'll go the next suburb out, and then they'll push up the price of that land as well. I think the bottom line here is that everything the government does to try and do stuff is ineffective. And it's ineffective, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons. But basically, the problems have built up over a very long period of time, and they're multifaceted, meaning there's different factors. And governments, they approach it on either in this case, a state government level. And then when they try to develop, the local governments quite often don't want additional development in their place. You've got that NIMBYism going on. And then you've got the federal government. So they're all kind of not aligned in what they want. When they do bring stuff out, it's just one thing, for example. Oh, this one thing will help. This one thing is a drop in the ocean. And it's got to be done in concert, I believe, with state, federal, local governments. They say they're doing that. I have little faith in our governments as the months roll by. So that's the big news here. actually doesn't affect that many people. Who would benefit out of this? People that actually are not in the housing market yet, because it's going to slash the cost. But it's only going to be really, I think it's over a certain amount, because previously first home buyers already got a discount for off the plan properties. So you could argue even first home buyers aren't even going to benefit out of this that much. Again, it's window dressing. They're getting desperate. Whatever these guys pull out, it's not going to help the average person, and that's why I'm always talking about personal responsibility, because let's face it, most of us, unless we've owned property for 10 or so years, most of us have had to take higher debt levels out, and now we're going to pay those debt levels back and kind of live the life that we need to live to have a kind of standard level of living. And that's getting harder and harder. So I'm always personal responsibility, because governments, they don't seem to be helping anyone but themselves lately.